Welcome to the Careers by Jenn podcast, episode 293. Today's podcast is about finding your true self and why being authentic is essential in 2021. Unless your authentic self is a complete jerk and a pathetic waste of human potential, in which case you're better off to keep faking it.
Hey, I'm Jenn Swanson, and Careers by Jenn is where I help you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. And I talk about wellness and success topics too. This podcast is actually ending production after episode 300. However, you can find me over at Careers by Jenn on YouTube, where I will be continuing to share career tips, advice, wellness, and success topics, and much, much more. It's been a 10-year run here on Careers by Jenn on the podcast, and until we are at episode 300, I invite you to continue listening. Go back and listen to the archives, and please enjoy this show. Thank you so much for being here. I was listening to a radio interview the other day, and the guest started to talk about her real self and her fantasy self. And she was talking about clothing at first. She bought some funky ski pants that she could imagine herself wearing, but never actually had. And she started on a mission to find her true self and to stop trying to do things for her fantasy self that didn't actually exist. Then she spoke about the hundreds and hundreds of books that she owned and that her fantasy self imagined reading. All these books. And her real self realized that given her age and how often she actually read books, and all the books that she wanted to read and all the books that she wanted to reread, she couldn't possibly get to all that she had amassed in her library. And so the story about real self and fantasy self was the inspiration for this episode. Hey there, this is Jenn. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. The Careers by Jenn podcast is recorded on the unceded and traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, including the Katzie, the Kwantlen, the Stolo, the Coquitlam First Nations people. And today I dedicate this episode to my father-in-law, Phil, who died in the evening of March 17th, 2021, surrounded with love. May he rest in peace. And if I sound a little different today, I am not in my podcast studio because it is sharing the same wall as somebody else, and I don't want to wake that person up because I'm recording this at 1:25 in the morning after having a very, very long day and a very, very long evening. And so I'm doing this in a different location with different equipment, and so it might sound a little bit different. But darn it, I am determined to get this podcast out because I know there are very few left. All right, next week I am bringing you a guest expert, Justin Nguyen from, and I probably said his name wrong, Justin Nguyen from the podcast Declassified College. And Justin is coming to speak to us about optimizing your LinkedIn for your career success. So be sure to tune in for that. Oh my goodness. You can tell I'm tired. Let's get talking now about finding your true self and why being authentic is essential in 2021. Well, first of all, I have been noticing a quiet backlash of sorts on social media and well, in lots of circles actually. And I don't know if it's pandemic related or what, but I would not be surprised. Instead of the sterile and perfectly posed scenes on social media, I've been noticing a lot of imperfection, a lot of unmade up faces, a lot of silliness and glitches and bloopers, a lot of mistakes not edited out, and a lot of video of people just being real. And it's so refreshing. I was watching somebody talking on her Instagram reel from her closet and sitting on the floor of her closet talking. And I'm noticing this kind of thing all over the place. We actually had a conversation about this during our virtual coffee time after church one day too, because as a leadership team, we had deliberately and intentionally decided to not edit out every single little blooper that week, as we had been doing. And the conversation at coffee time was fascinating. First of all, people noticed, and it even though people enjoyed the high production value and the slickness and the beauty of all the pre-recorded services with beautiful imagery and fabulous music and smooth transitions and pretty much looking like a produced film, they really missed the reality of the occasional flub up in a real Sunday church service when, one of us drops a stack of papers at the pulpit, or a microphone's not turned on, or somebody coughs during a prayer, or the PowerPoint won't click forward, or whatever. A child cries, or somebody is coming in late and making noise. It had become so perfect, our pre-recorded services, and that they didn't quite feel real anymore. I mean, of course, there were elements of it. They're stunning, they're beautiful, they move people deeply in so many ways. But we had a whole conversation about how it felt less like you were actually there because it was so perfected. And I want to say, in all that I have been advocating all these 10 years on this podcast and in the book that I wrote in 2015 and on my YouTube channel, and yes, even in my sermons at church, I never want you to be anything except who you are. And I never have wanted you to completely change yourself. That is not what I am about. I am all about helping you, encouraging you to be the best you that you can be. And I'm often offering ways that you can do things to help you reach a particular goal that you might have. That's what I do with my coaching clients. I offer strategies and methods and ideas and suggestions. But in the end, you are you. And that is not to be changed. You are uniquely made. You are beautiful in all the complexity, an essence that animates the flesh and bone that you are in and takes a place on this planet, in this world. There is no one else who can take up your unique and particular space. Nobody. Your place in existence, because it is just for you. And when we try to be somebody else, I mean, it's fine to take actions and do some of the things that other people do. And of course, we learn and we excel by emulating. But you don't want to be that other person, because then your space will be empty and we need you. When we try to be someone else, often we fail, or we come off as false because we are not being our authentic selves. And I don't know about you, but I can tell. It shows when somebody's faking it. It shows when they ask you how you're doing and they don't really want to hear the answer. It shows when you ask someone how they're doing and they say, I'm fine, and they're not. It's easy for us to pick up the cues and to see when someone is not being straight up with us, is not being authentic with us. It's boring to see row upon row of cookie cutter houses in a subdivision that are exactly identically the same. An entire garden bed of one flower is nice for a little while, but I'd rather have the colorful riot of all kinds of shapes and sizes and varieties and colors and fragrances of many, many diverse flowers and greenery. And the bees would like that too, right? So we're not all meant to be exactly one way. And I really hope that over the course of these hundreds of episodes and all of the other things that I've been doing, that it has come across that I want you to be you and just be the best you can be. And that's up to you, how you are, how self-aware you are, how you're willing to grow, how you're willing to live into all of the gifts and the skills that you have and that are waiting for you. So in an interview situation, the hiring manager can tell, especially if they have done lots of interviewing and have lots of experience, they can tell when a candidate is giving the expected answer that has not actually been deeply thought about. The one the candidate thinks the company is looking for, instead of the one that is truthful and thoughtful and honest. If you've noticed, I've been mentioning truth and honesty numerous times when talking about resumes and interviews, and I seem to have been mentioning it a lot lately in my YouTube videos, and I think it's just because this has been on my mind. It is far better to pause and to think about how to answer something for real, to really answer it, than to give a stock line that the three candidates before you gave as well in various versions. So think about the answer and see how it feels to answer it authentically. This doesn't mean that you need to spill your guts and reveal every tiny little detail. But I've been practicing, I've done this for years, I've been practicing with people in the stores who say, "And how was your day? How are you today?" You know, they're told to do that, they're trained to do that, they're supposed to do that. And sometimes they do it genuinely. And other times it's, "Oh, here's the customer, I have to say that to them." And they're not listening to your answer. And so I try not to say, "It's fine, thank you," because that becomes a transactional, automatic, fake response. So I'll say something like, "I'm really tired today," or "It's not been a great day. I'm looking forward to a better day tomorrow." I'll say something. I don't spill my guts. I don't say something deep and, but I try and say something real. And it's interesting how people perk up when you throw them a different answer, when you ask them how they're doing, because not everybody does that, And so how's your day and what's happening for you? So I just fool around with this stuff and we'll have these conversations with random people in stores just to try things out sometimes and be a little bit more real and a little bit more honest. And I think that authenticity and being real is even more important when we've missed being with people in real life. We've been on screen with people. We've been socially distanced with people for a whole entire year. And I am eternally grateful for the technology. And I have felt very connected across the distances with friends and loved ones. And I was able to be present virtually because I was in one country and my father-in-law was in another country. But I was able to virtually be with him and with my husband, who was there physically, and with other relatives on screen when he died last evening. And what a gift to be able to have been there and not been there on a computer screen. So I am grateful that we have this technology, and I crave being able to hug people again and being able to sit in a group of friends laughing and talking and eating and having wine together. I miss seeing faces that are not covered up. I miss singing in a whole room full of people. There's just something about that community and being physically together. And there is so much that has felt so unreal and so covered up and so protected with PPE, literally and metaphorically, that I think part of what is going to stand out in 2021, at least for me, and maybe you resonate with this, is authenticity, is realness. Is that a word? Reality, but being real is not the perfectly polished, prepared, and pat answers. Nice alliteration there. Not the sterile and saccharine sweet social media feeds, but instead the glitches, the pauses, the real life situations and struggles, and those who name them as such, those who talk about the stuff that's real, and talk about the fact that they're not having a great day, or that they're struggling with mental illness, or that they are exhausted and discouraged, or whatever, what have you, that they weren't very nice to their kid today and they feel bad about it. Just like some real things, I think, are what I crave. And I am noticing this silent shift, not so silent shift maybe, in people. And there are more and more people doing real things out there. And I'm so curious and inspired and interested. And so this episode is short because, frankly, it's been a really long week and I'm done emotionally and physically, being real here. And so I have to sign off soon. But I want to leave you with a couple of questions to ponder for yourself this week. And so here they are. When do you notice yourself making up the quote-unquote right answer instead of the real one? When do you notice yourself making up the right answer instead of the real one? And what would it take for you to be more authentically yourself at work or at home or both? What would it take for you to be more authentically you at work, at home, or both? So I'm not going to edit this out. Authenticity, my friend. I have the sense that it's exactly what we need right now. And we need each other. And we need to keep it real. I look forward to bringing you my guest this next week and to talking about LinkedIn and what you can do to optimize your profile. Come and see me over on YouTube if you haven't yet. I just figured out how to do some Instagram reels, and I got pretty silly this week on the reels. So if you're interested in some crazy authenticity, check that out. And until then, this is Jenn. Peace be with you.
You've been listening to Careers by Jenn with Jenn Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. If every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.